What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas. We are on a countdown from 12. Let's get into this graphic breakdown. So for the background, we have a grainy background. Basically, it's just black, and then I just added noise to it. You can do that with filter, noise, add noise. Easy enough. So then we just put game day text in the background and just duplicated it and spread it out and then centered it up. And so then we changed the perspective of that, and basically I just took one and did Control T and pulled it down so it's like that, and this changed the perspective of it. I put both of those into a group, and then I used this gradient to do a gradient in from there and a gradient in from there, and that's what gave me this look. And then I set that to 30% opacity. I added one game day text layer over top of all of that to really stand out. And I used my AI subscription to generate these two images, which is a leopard with a drop shadow behind it and just a little bit of motion blur, except for like on the nose, to kind of look like he's like coming into the screen a little bit. And then I use a curves layer, which is a simple S curve, to really make him super contrasty. And then I just use this hue saturation layer to change his eye color to kind of fit the graphic, because the green and the green, like all hints around his body, didn't really fit in. So I took that out, and then use a little exposure layer to just put a gradient over the edge of him, so it looks like he's like coming into the screen a little bit better. It gives a little bit of depth. And then we have the same thing over here. So I have a AI generated lion, same concept, just blurred it out, used a motion blur, and then painted out a little bit maybe over his nose or whatever, so the rest of him has a little bit of blur. And then did a drop shadow for him as well, same curves layer, the simple S, just tried to match those. Same exposure layer, just a gradient right here to add some depth for him. Then I just added a shadow ellipse right in the bottom center. And then we have our athlete with inner shadows and some blur just kind of like around here to make it look like he's lunging, a little bit of motion blur. These inner shadows are just a screen layer to outline him a little bit, and then an inner shadow with this contour. It's this third option right here, turned all the way up. It looks like that. So that just kind of makes him look like he's backlit a little bit. It's very subtle. And then I just did a color balance to tweak his overall coloring, and added some shading over his foot right here because it looked a little bit too bright for where it was. And then I just added another exposure layer to kind of like shade in just his bottom half, just to make his top half look brighter, because that's kind of like where the light is hitting. And then all this down here is a little bit less bright, except for his arms, because those are pretty well exposed. And then we did a apply image layer. So you just make it into one layer and then click apply image. Put it to screen, put a Gaussian blur on it, and just paint it in where you want it. So that's what it looks like overall. And then that's what it looks like painted in. So without, with, just kind of makes it pop with some light. Then I just used a color lookup layer to try to find one to make it all look unified. Didn't want to change the colors too much. And then we're going to add in our logo boxes. I think that looks pretty clean. So it's just two boxes with the logos. If you click Alt and then put your mouse between the two layers, you can like attach it to it. So that's what I did there. And then just put the verses in between. That's it. This graphic will be up on Patreon tomorrow, at least for 24 hours. Unless you're a top tier subscription, then it'll just stay up. So thanks for watching, and tune in until Christmas to keep getting breakdowns and PSDs.